It's been a few hours since I posted a video about the nonviolent protest a few days ago in Covington, Kentucky, that was in support of a children's hospital chaplain named Ayman Soleiman, who was abducted by ICE and is likely going to be deported. In that video, I described how nonviolent, unarmed protesters were brutalized by the Covington police, who rolled up on the situation, did everything they could to escalate instead of de-escalate, created panic, and ended up beating, tasing, wounding, and arresting several protesters. In particular, I focused on Brandon Hill, who has been charged with 9 misdemeanors and a felony, I believe, because he was fleeing an officer who was pointing a weapon at him. It turned out to be a pepper ball gun. Hill said he didn't know what kind of a weapon it was and he was afraid, so he ran. That officer chased Brandon down and ended up grabbing him about the neck and ended up punching him around the neck and the face several times. Let me show you just a little clip from that. You're about to see a police officer brutalizing an unarmed man, so be forewarned.
Up next to me, young kid, threw him down on the ground and started punching at him and tasing him, just like he did 2 other people, and then he bloodied me up and threw me on the ground.
I just read an update from WCPO Channel 9 News in Cincinnati. Documents show Covington officer who repeatedly punched protester has previous excessive force lawsuit. Color me fucking shocked. Covington, Kentucky, that's just south of Cincinnati. That's where this incident took place. Court documents show the Covington police officer seen on camera repeatedly punching a protester last week has a previous lawsuit filed against him for excessive use of force. Covington officials said Officer Zachary Staten remains on paid administrative duty amid an investigation into his conduct during a protest on the Roebling Bridge last week. Footage from both bystanders, which I showed you, and the police body camera footage, which is not any better, y'all, showed the moment when Staten grabbed protester Brandon Hill. You can see him grab him by the back of the neck and then the front of the neck, and then he thinks better of choking him and moves over here and then very quickly starts just fucking walloping on him. So the protester Brandon Hill was trying to run away. Yeah, because Officer Staten was firing pepper balls at him, at somebody who was fleeing, attempting to get up onto the sidewalk after officers said, get off the bridge, go to the sidewalk, or you will be arrested. Brandon did that while this Officer Staten was shooting at him with a pepper ball gun. Then the officer caught up to him, again, grabbed him around the neck, and then started and then tackled him to the ground, where once he was on the ground, as you could see in the video I just showed, he continued to punch him in the face, the neck, the head. Officer Staten is claiming that he witnessed Hill appear to reach toward a bag at his waist, believing he may be attempting to draw a firearm. At that time, Staten drew his gun. Let's go back and watch my video before this one, because it's very clear when you watch a compilation of the footage from that event that it was a nonviolent situation, that the cops escalated in every possible way. You can see police officers panicking, dropping their radios, they're fumbling, they don't know how to handle their weapons, they're unable to communicate with and control the protesters. They make no effort to de-escalate at all. According to one Cincinnati news station, only 20 seconds elapse from when law enforcement orders the protesters to disperse, to move off of the bridge and onto the sidewalk, before they started opening fire with less lethal rounds, before they started chasing down protesters, tackling them to the ground. In one clip, you can see a woman in a pink floral dress who's unarmed. They yell at protesters to disperse, and then she runs away from the cops, runs toward the sidewalk where they told protesters to go. An officer comes up and grabs her through the bars and attempts to pull her back onto the bridge. People are yelling, they're on the sidewalk, they're on the sidewalk. That woman ends up getting tased. It looks like multiple times in the video, and ends up being arrested and charged. So getting back to this situation that culminated in Officer Staten beating Brandon Hill around the face and neck. Brandon says he was there protesting because he felt it wasn't right that a children's hospital chaplain had been abducted. He felt that he wasn't given due process, and he wanted to show up in support of that. When the police rolled up, he says that he panicked because Officer Staten pulled out a weapon. You can see it in the footage. He didn't know, Brandon didn't know that that was a pepper ball gun, that it was a less lethal form of ammunition. He was really scared, so he fled. Staten is claiming that Hill reached into his bag, and without any evidence, Staten was worried that it was going to be a gun. Newsflash, it wasn't. You can then see on the body camera footage of Officer Staten that he chases Hill as Hill is running away from him on a sidewalk. And then bystander footage, which I just showed, and in the original video I show it from another angle, shows that Hill is being grabbed by the officer as he's holding on to a railing. At which point, according to Officer Staten's own written report, at that point I delivered several closed fist strikes to Hill's facial area with my left hand in order to gain control and prevent a potential fall. It's important to note that apparently sometime in the past, the Covington police force had an officer who died in the line of duty when he fell off a bridge during an altercation. So rather than having good training and how to control the situation, Officer Staten panicked because he thought what happened to that guy was going to happen to him, even though there's clearly a guardrail, even though he continues punching Hill in the face and the neck after he is on the ground. Staten claimed that Hill continued to physically resist, actively concealing his hands, right? The implication is here that he must have a gun on him, because then that justifies him being beaten about the face. But you can clearly see in the video that Hill is holding on to the bridge railing. He's not reaching for anything. He's not concealing his hands. And again, once Hill is on the ground, Staten continues to punch him. You can hear in the video, Hill is saying, ow, and stop, and the officer just keeps fucking wailing on him. Staten says this was all appropriate because he feared for his safety. So this new reporting shows that Staten was previously involved in a lawsuit in September of 2023 for his excessive use of force. According to court documents, Staten and another officer were accused of slamming a man to the ground and arresting him outside of a Covington Kroger. That man was slammed to the ground for refusing to give police his ID when they walked up to him outside of his own vehicle in the Kroger parking lot. The city did ultimately settle that lawsuit. Staten only came to work for the Covington Police Department in October 2021, and WCPO-TV filed a public records request, which showed that in less than 4 years, there had been 8 use of force reports involving Staten. 4 of those came in a very short span of time between April and May of 2023. All of the footage I have watched of this event shows the police escalating everywhere. They had multiple opportunities to de-escalate and to help the crowd disperse. And instead, they rolled up and from the get-go said, y'all are all about to be arrested. They came in combative, confrontational. You can see that they don't know how to handle a stressful situation like that. You can see that they're panicking. You can see that law enforcement is fumbling and clearly ill-equipped to deal with a peaceful, non-violent protest where, yeah, folks are standing on the bridge, but you could go up to them and be like, hey, my dudes, you know what? Let's move this conversation over to the sidewalk. I really want to chat about what's going on. I heard that there was a car that was driving by your protest and causing problems and was, attempting to get in the way of pedestrians. I want to hear more about that. Can we all move to the side? Can we just get out of the roadway? Because I'm really worried y'all are going to be hit by cars. Let's come over and have a conversation about this. I want to make sure that we protect your right to peacefully assemble and engage in your First Amendment right to protest what is happening to the hospital chaplain. But also, we can't block the roads, y'all. Let's come over here and chat. Like a reasonable fucking human being. But that's not what law enforcement does. They don't have an interest in actually protecting the peace. You can see from this video, they are so woefully inadequate to handle this situation. And it's so discouraging. They immediately go to panic. Officer Staten immediately assumes that he's going to be shot at. He immediately assumes he's going to be thrown off the bridge. And so that justifies him freaking out and brutalizing a nonviolent, unarmed protester. Cops receive literally weeks of training, y'all. They don't have to have a college degree in the United States. How much de-escalation training, how much crowd management training they actually get varies significantly from state to state. I'm not familiar with what the requirements are in Kentucky, but clearly this is a situation that never needed to happen. I hope that there's justice for these protesters, and I hope that there's accountability for the law enforcement who were there.